What's up guys, it's Meg. Today we're talking about the latest Walking Dead trailer for season 5 that just aired yesterday. It was 3 minutes long and jam-packed full of awesome Walking Dead goodness. Probably some of the most intense scenes I think we've seen so far. The Walking Dead just keeps getting better. It amazes me every time I watch something like this because, you know, after last season, I mean, you think, what can get better than this? How can they get darker? How can they get things to be more scary? And yet they always surprise us with crazy scenes and just things that you're not expecting. So coming into this trailer, before I watched it, you know, I'm expecting a lot of action. I'm expecting to see them somehow escape Terminus, but not expecting to see the scenes be so scary as if they're straight from a horror movie. So the trailer starts out with them back in the train car. We see the final scene for season 4, episode A, when they're in the train car and Rick says that they're screwing with the wrong people. So we see that scene and then it flashes to some kind of explosion, which we now know is some kind of gas, tear gas, whatever, to incapacitate our crew while the Terminus people come in with gas masks on and haul them away. We see them in, now I don't think they haul all of them away. We see Glenn, Rick, Daryl, Bob, at least those 4, in this room with the Terminus people, and it looks like they're ready to slaughter them. I mean, they have guys in there dressed in gear with like aprons and bloody stuff on them and gloves and goggles. I mean, these guys look like they mean business and they look like they've been doing it a while, so they definitely have a system down. We see Rick and Glenn and, no, I'm sorry, Rick and Daryl and 3 other unknown guys leaning over a metal trough. This was really scary for me because when I realized what I was seeing and realized I was seeing other people there and they're leaning over this metal trough, there's one of the worker guys that's dressed in all of this gear in the background. It kind of looks like they're gonna either chop off their heads into the metal bins or they're gonna slit their throats and drain their blood. Like, it's really scary. There have been a lot of comments, which I didn't catch this the first time I watched it, but there have been a lot of comments that the guy closest to the camera could possibly be Sam from the episode where where Rick banished Carol. Sam was the guy and he had a girlfriend, the girlfriend died, I can't remember her name, and Sam just disappeared. We never saw him again, but we thought that it was interesting that Rick gave Sam his watch, and it seemed like there was some kind of meaning there. And it looks like from you don't see his upper face, so you don't see his eyes or anything, but you see his lower jaw, you see the black tank top. Definitely looks like it could be him. Very interesting kind of twist there to bring him back around. So we see that scene. We also see a scene where there is a blurry vision, kind of like someone just woke up and their vision's all kind of blurry, you know, they're groggy, and they look and see a man standing over a table with what looks like a body on it, and you hear a sawing noise, and it reminded me of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something, or some horror movie where you're just like, this is too scary. So hopefully it's not anybody that we know on the table, but so far from watching the preview over and over again, it doesn't look like anyone dies at Terminus from our characters. It looks like everyone's accounted for in scenes following the Terminus explosion scenes. So hopefully, fingers crossed, none of our people will die there. We see while Bob and Rick and Daryl are all kneeling, bound in front of Gareth. Gareth is talking to them, and we see Bob essentially, in so many words, begging for his life. He admits that they have a cure. Gareth just needs to trust him. They have a cure if they can just get to Washington, which I think definitely piques Gareth's interest. But we see another scene immediately following that where Gareth has his hand behind Bob's neck. Bob's head is kind of bent down. You can't see his face, you just see the back of his head. And Gareth is just looking straight at Rick with like this super creepy smile. And then we see another scene where it flips around to the front and you see Rick's face, which he has that face when something awful has just happened and he gets this look, and we saw it when he was recovering from ripping That guy's throat out. I can't remember his name now, but we saw that look then, and it looks like he is just ready to kick some ass. Like, he's done. But the key point here is that if you look at Bob's face, his eyes are closed and he's leaning forward. I've been getting a lot of comments and seeing things where people think Bob's dead there, that Gareth just killed him. But there are scenes following where you can see Bob running through Terminus and shooting and stuff. So I really don't think that he dies there, but I think the clip is definitely put there to freak us out. There's also another clip later in the trailer, but you can tell it's back at Terminus, where you see Glenn and Daryl kneeling there, and there's two guys behind them with the aprons on, like they're ready to kill him, and you see the guy swing like he is, I mean, he's got the look on his face like he's gonna hit as hard as he possibly can, and you see Glenn cringing like he's gonna be hit, and you see the guy swing, and then it flashes away. Now, there have been so many comments about Glenn's dying, he's dead, he's dying, because that's what happened in the comics and it's going to happen here, and I am a firm believer that that is not what's going to happen. I definitely think they put this clip in there, and they put this clip in the episode to freak us comic readers out for a minute, kind of like a little shout out to the comics. You know, if you read it, you think you know what's going to happen, but then it's not really going to happen in the scene. So I really don't believe Glenn dies. We see him in numerous scenes after they escape Terminus where they're in Father Gabriel's church, and you just see him a lot more times. So there's no way, at least from the clips that I've seen, that Glenn dies here. So moving along, let me see, I have so many pages of notes here, trying to go through them. It's hard for me to remember everything that I want to talk about, but we see scenes where Rick and crew have clearly escaped. We see them with a fire truck, which is really cool, because if you look at that scene where someone, which I think it's Eugene, is spraying the fire hose, if you look to the far left of the scene, you see Tara standing against the wall, like trying to avoid the spray, but also trying to avoid all of the walkers down there. And then you see off on the right hand side of the screen, where it looks like Glenn jumps out of the truck and the crew is there. I mean, they're clearly out of Terminus. They've somehow got this fire truck, whether it's from Terminus or not. They've got this fire truck. They're using it to get them around, also to smush zombies that are in their path. But that was an interesting scene. It's funny when you slow some of the clips down, when you can actually catch, oh, that's not a walker over there, that's actually one of our characters. I thought that was pretty neat. We see a lot of Gabriel's church, Father Gabriel's church, and Beth is not with him. That theory is completely gone. We'll talk about Beth in a minute, but I mean, we were all pretty certain that we knew Father Gabriel was going to be in this season, and it just seems so likely that Beth would be with him, and that's how they would be reunited. Beth's fate doesn't look that simple anymore. We'll talk about it in a minute, like I said, but you know, I don't think that we are going to be reunited with Beth that quickly, unfortunately, but I think that her storyline is going to be really awesome, because those scenes were pretty intense. I wasn't expecting it. But we hear, the way the trailer works is, it's so misleading because when you watch it quickly, and even when you slow it down, it appears as if Gareth is speaking to Rick's group. You know, they're using the same kind of, what am I saying? It looks like they're all talking to each other at night. The scenes are very dark. There's like kind of soft lighting, and it looks like they're actually talking to each other. But in reality, I'm pretty sure these are two completely different scenes. So you see Gareth saying, you don't have a choice, you join us and we go to Washington to cure this thing. And it looks like he's talking to them, because as he's saying that, then it flashes to Rick holding Judith in Father Gabriel's church, and it looks like they're speaking. But I don't think that's the case. I'm pretty sure that the scenes where Gareth is talking, saying you don't have a choice, and you don't trust us anymore, those are back at Terminus, or those are after the crew has escaped and Gareth is tracking them, and maybe Gareth has already hurt one of their people or has hunted them and tracked them down, and is then saying that you don't have a choice, we're going to Washington, you know, you can't get out of it now. So it's either back at Terminus or it's in the future, but it's not in the church. I don't think that Gareth has joined their group. There's just no way after escaping that you'd be like, okay, cool, join our group. We don't have a choice. There's only 10 of us and a few of you, you know what I mean? But AMC is very good at misleading us because you really have to look closely to see that these scenes aren't from, they're not all together there. So my theory is essentially, and I've written it down here, is I think that Rick and crew escape Terminus but are tracked by Gareth, at least by Gareth, but it looks like maybe Gareth and some other people. We see a scene where Gareth is standing kind of at a door looking in with a gun in his hand. So I definitely think Gareth is at least tracking them. I'm sure he's got other people that survived Terminus. Not everyone died there. I just don't believe that. But there's another one where Abraham's talking and saying, we go to Washington, we cure this thing, and then it flashes to Gareth's face, which is the same kind of dark scene, but it flashes to Gareth's face, and Gareth like nods his head like in agreement. So it's totally making you think, okay, yeah, we're all going to Washington DC together, and I just don't think that's gonna happen at all. Let's see, what else? When Rick is saying, I don't trust this guy, and it flashes to Gareth's face, Rick is saying it to Carl while he's in Gabriel's church. So again, there's another misleading moment where we think that Rick is saying, I don't trust Gareth, I don't trust him while he's with us. But in reality, he's totally talking about Gabriel there, because Gabriel, in the comics at least, Gabriel was acting weird. He is hurting. He has a history there that I won't get into because I'm sure we'll discover it in the television show. But there's something beneath that, the fact that he's a pastor of this church. There's something deep down that he's dealing with being here, and you start to see it when the group arrives at his church. And so it's understandable for Rick to, at this point, not trust anyone, because so far they have had not very good luck at meeting new people. Woodbury people were bad. A lot of bad stuff happened there. Now these Terminus people are bad. It's kind of hard to trust people in these zombie apocalypse situations. I think at this point I would stop meeting new people. But we also see some scenes where they are in maybe this like shopping, some kind of store, and it looks like the floor has given way and there's tons and tons of water, and there's all these scenes of these walkers where their faces are like melted off. And I was watching a lot of looking at a lot of the different walkers in this trailer, and they're all so decrepit and so their skin is just so decomposed and there's just nothing left. And it's funny to see the evolution of the walkers. You have to kind of keep up with the times. You can't just have all of these fresh walkers, where they still look like people, because the world is becoming, way more walkers than there are alive human beings in this world. And so some of these walkers have been walkers for a very long time, and their faces are, completely decomposed. Or I guess that it's kind of like the well walker. So these walkers that have been in the water, their skin just looks like it's just melted off, and that one with the tongue hanging out, oh, they're just really awful. And the one with the glasses that's like coming at the scene, or at the screen, when you're looking at it and it's in the water and it's like coming at you like with this weird walk. I mean, I just want to say that the makeup artist and Greg Nicotero and everybody just does such an amazing job, because the walkers just keep getting scarier, and whenever you think that you've seen all there is to see, there's more. Like, it only gets better, and it's just totally what draws me to this show, because it's so exciting to see every season see these walkers change, but to also, you keep getting surprised, you're not like, oh, there's another walker, he looks gross, yeah, whatever. These ones are actually really scary. That one in the woods with like the beard and no nose whatsoever, that's scary. And I actually like them a lot better than the original walkers. They're more like what you would see in your nightmare or in a horror movie. What else do we have to talk about? We see a scene at 1 minute 35 seconds where the group is looking very sad. They're in a room, possibly a bedroom, but they're in some kind of room, maybe a living room, and a lot of them are standing there, their arms are crossed, they look just sad, like they don't know what to do, and it kind of pans and you just briefly see Maggie's face kneeling over someone. And I'm really thinking that at this point, this particular scene is where one of our characters has been hurt by the hunters, or has been bitten, or something is happening here, and they're either dying or they don't, I I really think it's going to be a sad scene. There has been talk that it may be Rosita, because you see Abraham at one point fall to his knees on the road, and he's just like crying, and it seems like it would take an awful lot for Abraham at this point to cry. He sort of seemed like such a tough guy so far that it really seems like it would take a lot, kind of like Daryl. It would take a lot to see him cry and show that kind of emotion. So in the beginning, when we first saw Rosita, it was said that she was brought in for a different reason than in the comics. So maybe the reason was that she's going to be the victim of the Hunters, or maybe she dies to save the group, something like that. We also, in that scene at 1 minute 35, we don't see Bob. So there is also a possibility that he is the one that that got hurt or got bit or got half eaten by the Hunters, something like that. So there's a possibility there. The only other thing that I was thinking is maybe they've been reunited with Beth, because it seems interesting that Maggie would be the one kneeling over the bed. You know, you can clearly see Glenn in the room standing there. So we know it's not Glenn on the table. Why is Maggie leaning over? Why isn't Bob leaning over if he's the one who has more medical experience? Maybe it's Bob there and Maggie is the only other person, because we know that she helped Herschel and she may know a little bit of medical knowledge, so maybe that's why she's there. I just thought for a moment that maybe it was Beth and they were reunited with her, but you know, she's dying or something like that. I don't know. I feel like all of this Beth stuff with her being off on her own and she's really growing strong and a lot of stuff's gonna happen, I feel like it might be, you know, all leading up to her death at the very end, which I would just feel awful about. But you know, you never know. It seems like when they pay more attention to a certain character, inevitably something bad happens just when you really start caring for this character. And there's a lot of people out there that are like, Beth should have been killed off a long time ago, because she hasn't really done much. You know, she's taking care of Judith, she sings, she hasn't really done a lot. I've always liked her, so I'm not one of those Beth haters out there, but I will definitely admit she hasn't added a lot to the story, except for the second half of last season. We started seeing more of her. I started really liking her, especially with her and Daryl, because you got to see a lot more of her side and you got to see her bring out a soft side in Daryl, and we won't go there, but I really started liking her, and I'm worried that it's going to inevitably lead to her death, because I feel like every time we really start caring about someone, that's when they take them away from us. We saw Father Gabriel. I'm almost done, you guys, so now I just have to talk about Beth. Wow, you know, I thought the trailer was done, and as you probably saw from my live reaction, I totally thought the trailer was done, and I started to talk, and then you hear this voice, this woman's voice that we've never heard before, and she says, every sacrifice we make needs to be for the greater good. In here, you're not the greater good, you're part of a system. And it took me a moment to realize she's speaking to Beth, and I've been trying to figure out, what does that mean? You're part of a system. So clearly they have a very organized way of living in this hospital. So no matter what this group is about, they clearly have a system down, some type of way that they live and a type of way that they bring in new people, and you have to get in line. I mean, and do what they say. That really seems like that's what it is. I can't figure out what is going on here. You see this woman hit Beth. She looks like she's like totally looking the other way and just like straight face, and then she turns and hits Beth over the head really hard, which makes me wonder what provoked that. We see Beth sitting in an elevator shaft looking down with a flashlight. She has a cast on her wrist. Her ankle's not bandaged, so I'm curious to know how far in advance these scenes are from the regular scenes with our other group. Are they happening at the same time? Or because we see at the very end, the very last scene of the trailer, we see Beth running, and it doesn't look like she's hobbling. It doesn't look like she is limping. She definitely couldn't walk on her ankle when she was kidnapped. And we know that she was definitely kidnapped too, so what were these people doing at this house, at this mortuary? That's what it was, wasn't it? What were they doing here? How did they just happen to be here? Was the place indeed a trap, and we thought it was a trap for the Hunters, but it was a trap for something else? I don't know. It seems so odd. We also see one scene with Beth where she is forced to, well, we don't know if she's forced, but she's holding down this woman who's strapped on a table. It looks like they are cutting off her arm. There's a doctor, I don't know if it's a doctor, there's a guy leaning over her. It looks like he's cutting off her arm. It looks like there may be a bite near her wrist, so I'm wondering if they're cutting off her arm to prevent it from spreading. We see another scene where it looks like it's that same woman that was on the table turned into a walker eating one of the police officers, and these guys are dressed as police officers, so what the hell is going on? I don't know. I really don't have any theories for it, but I had at least 3 people comment on my videos that potentially these people in the hospital are actually the cannibals, and that the Terminus people are not, and that that's going to be the big twist. And I don't know how you guys come up with these theories sometimes. They sound so good. I don't know why I never come up with these theories, but yeah, I mean, that would be a crazy twist. They sure have been playing up that the termites are cannibals. You know, all of the clips that we see and everything in the final episode of season 4, even the comments that they made, like, when we accept people into their group, they become a part of us, and you're like, cannibal reference. So I think everyone knows that we're totally expecting the Terminus people to be cannibals. So maybe you guys are right, and somehow these hospital people are the cannibals? I don't know. I didn't see any clues there that they would be. And that maybe the Terminus people are either supplying these other people with meat, and that's why Gareth says we didn't want to hurt you, but we did. I think, did he say we didn't have a choice? I don't know. I don't know. I'm all confused now. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think. I think that I have gone over everything I can possibly go over. I don't know how long this episode is, but it's probably really long, and I don't feel like editing it. So hopefully you're still with me. Let me know what you guys think. What are your theories? And if there's any specific topics that I didn't really touch on here, or you want me to touch on further, let me know in the comments below, and maybe I'll make a separate video about it, talking about it more in depth. Anyways, that's it. If you guys like this video, give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. What are you waiting for? And stay tuned next week, or maybe earlier, for another video. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Bye.